They all said the same thing about Cole Rivers. Quiet, simple, not man enough. The kind of man who could calm a wild horse, but couldn't hold a woman's attention. That's what Willow Creek believed. And Willow Creek loved believing things. Because when a town has nothing new, it makes stories out of people. And Cole was the easiest story to tell. He didn't fight back, didn't raise his voice, didn't brag, didn't drink loud, didn't flirt. He just worked, hands rough, eyes steady. A man built like patience. Then a woman came back to town, and the whispers got hungry. Her name was Emma Cartwright. City girl now, they said. Too pretty for dust, too smart for ranch life. And when she started spending time with Cole, people didn't just whisper. They sharpened their whisper into knives. They said she'd get bored. They said she'd regret it. They said Cole didn't know how to satisfy a wife, that he'd freeze up, fail, disappoint. They said it like they'd been there, like they'd stood in the dark with lantern light on skin, like they'd heard what no one should ever hear. Cole heard it too. He heard everything. He just didn't answer. Emma didn't answer either. She smiled. She chose him. And in a town like Willow Creek, choosing the wrong man was treated like a crime. The wedding was small. Old church, old hymns, old faces pretending to be kind. Cole wore his best suit, hands trembling when he held her fingers, not from fear, from disbelief, like a man who'd been told he was nothing, and suddenly was being handed everything. Emma kissed his cheek, and Cole looked like he'd been struck by lightning, soft, stunned, grateful. That night, lanterns flickered low at Sunrise Ranch. The last guests left. Hooves faded into distance, and the door closed, shutting out the town, shutting out the rumors, shutting out years of judgment. Inside, the air was warm, quiet, not empty quiet, a living quiet. Emma turned toward him, smiling, like the world couldn't reach them any more. Cole stood near the door, hands at his sides, calm face. But inside, old voices crawled back into his skull. Not man enough. Too quiet. Too simple. Emma stepped closer, took his hand. "You don't have to carry them in here," she whispered. "This is our space." Cole nodded, trying to believe it, trying to be bigger than the story they'd forced onto him. Then, outside, a horse snorted, sharp, uneasy. Cole's eyes shifted to the window. Not scared, alert. Emma didn't notice at first. She was unpinning her hair, letting it fall like silk into the lantern light. Cole heard the second sound, a board creaking, slow, careful, not the wind. He stepped toward the door. Emma laughed softly. "Cole, it's just the night." Cole's hand hovered near the latch. Then he stopped, because, in the silence, he heard something else. A whisper. Not inside the house. Outside. Close. A man's voice. Low, amused. And then Emma's smile vanished, because she heard it too. A voice saying, "Open up." And Cole realized the town's cruel story was about to turn into blood. Cole didn't open the door. Not right away. He stood still, listening, letting the silence speak first. Outside, the voice came again. "Open up!" "Cole." Emma's breath caught. "How do they know your name?" Cole didn't answer. He moved toward the lantern, turned it down low, then crossed the room, without noise, the way a man moves when he's learned the cost of being seen. Emma whispered, "Cole?" He lifted a finger. "Hush." Then He stepped to the window and looked out through a crack in the curtain. Moonlight, barn shadows, a fence line like black ribs. Nothing moving. Then a flicker, like fireflies. No, like cigar ember. Cole's jaw tightened. Emma saw his face change, not fear, recognition. "Who is it?" she mouthed. Cole whispered back, "Stay behind me." He took 2 slow steps toward the door and called out, "Calm!" "Who's there?" A laugh, soft, mean. "Just a neighbor, just wishing you luck." Cole didn't move. Luck don't knock at midnight. Silence. Then footsteps, retreating, slow, deliberate, like the man wanted Cole to know he could come and go as he pleased. Emma released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Cole stayed still, eyes locked on the darkness, until the night stopped pretending. Only then he turned back to Emma. She was pale, but steady. City girl or not, she had spine. "That's Hollis's man," Cole said quietly. Emma blinked. "Sheriff Hollis." Cole didn't answer, and that was answer enough. Emma stepped closer. "Why would the sheriff send someone here?" "On our wedding night." Cole looked down, hands flexing, like he was holding a rope that was cutting into his palms. "Because he thinks he owns this town," Cole said, "and he doesn't like surprises." Emma's eyes narrowed. "Cole, what aren't you telling me?" Cole met her gaze, and for a second the quiet man looked tired of being quiet, but he still didn't speak. Instead, he reached for the kettle, poured warm tea, hands steady like he could control at least this. Emma watched him, reading the gaps between his actions. He wasn't inexperienced. He was cautious. Caution like scar tissue. They sat at the small table. Lantern glow warm. Shadows heavy. Emma took his hand. "Cole, tonight isn't about them." Cole swallowed. "I know." Emma leaned closer. "Then let me in." Cole's throat worked, like he was chewing words that didn't want to go down. He finally said, "I used to ride with men who weren't good." Emma froze. Cole continued, voice low. "Not outlaws, not exactly, but men who did what needed doing for the right price." Emma stared. "Are you saying you're—" Cole shook his head. "Not anymore. But Hollis knows what I was, and he doesn't like that I'm trying to be something else." Emma's fingers tightened around his. "Why didn't you tell me?" Cole's eyes softened. "Because I wanted one thing in my life that wasn't stained." Emma looked at him, and the pity in her face made Cole flinch. "Don't," he whispered. "Don't look at me like I'm broken." Emma's voice was firm. "I'm looking at you like you're real." For a moment, the town disappeared. The rumors died, and only the 2 of them existed. Cole leaned in, slow, respectful. Emma met him halfway, and their first kiss as husband and wife was not rushed, not proving anything, just chosen. Then a sound outside, a horse screaming. Emma jolted up. Cole was already moving, door flying open. Cold air hit their faces. Moonlight spilled over the yard. The barn gate swung. A mare running loose, eyes wild. Cole sprinted, grabbed the reins, calmed her with a whisper, like he was speaking to fear itself. Emma stepped into the yard, barefoot, heart pounding. Cole turned back toward her. Then he saw it. A figure near the fence line, not close, but close enough. A man, hat low, a cigar ember, glowing red like an eye. Cole shouted, "Hey!" The man didn't run. He just raised a hand, slow, like a greeting. Then he tossed something onto the dirt, a small object, metal glinting in moonlight. Cole stared, then walked forward, picked it up. A key. Not his. Not from his house, Emma whispered. What does that mean? Cole's voice went cold. It means he can open something of mine. Emma's stomach dropped. Cole? What? Cole looked up. The man was gone. Only smoke in the dark. Cole clenched the key in his fist, and for the first time, his quiet cracked. Get inside, he ordered. Now? Emma ran. Cole followed, locked the door, bolted it. Emma turned. Cole? Cole stared at the key, like it was a bullet with his name on it. Then he said, We're leaving at dawn. Emma blinked. Leaving? Cole nodded. And if we don't, he looked at her, and the fear in his eyes wasn't for himself. It was for her. Because the man with the cigar hadn't come to scare Cole, he'd come to mark Emma, and outside, the wind carried a new sound. Soft, distant, like dirt being moved. Dawn came gray, the kind of dawn that looked like it didn't want to be born. Cole saddled the horses without speaking. Emma watched him. Hair unbraided, dress pulled on fast. Wedding night still clinging to her skin, but the world already turning ugly. Cole handed her a coat. Put this on. Emma's voice shook. Cole, tell me what's happening. Cole didn't answer. He just looked toward the ridge, where the wind bent the grass like fingers. Then he said, Stay close, and don't wander. They rode toward Willow Creek, not to celebrate, to survive. The town woke slow, but trouble woke early. Sheriff Hollis was already outside the jailhouse, leaning back in a chair, boots on the rail, cigar in hand. When he saw them, he smiled like a man greeting his property. Well, he said, look at you. Cole Rivers, married. Emma's skin crawled. Cole kept his face calm. Hollis stood, slow, walked closer, eyes sliding over Emma like she was merchandise. Beautiful bride, he said. Town's been talking? Emma's jaw tightened. Sheriff, we came because you're scared. Hollis cut in. Cole, I heard you had visitors last night. Cole's eyes sharpened. Who told you? Hollis grinned. I hear things. Cole's hand twitched near his belt, not reaching for a gun, reaching for control. Emma stepped forward. Someone was on our property. Hollis tilted his head. You accusing my men? Emma's voice stayed steady. I'm accusing the truth. Hollis stared at her, then laughed, soft, dangerous. You got a mouth on you. That's going to get you hurt out here. Cole's voice dropped. Don't talk to my wife like that. Hollis smiled wider. Or what? You'll prove you're a man. The words were bait. Cole didn't bite. Hollis leaned closer. Cole, you know I can make your life hard, and I can make hers? Worse. Emma's blood went cold. Then a boy ran down the street, barefoot, panicked, shouting, Sheriff? Sheriff? They found her. The world stopped. Emma grabbed Cole's arm. Found who? Hollis flicked ash from his cigar. Let's go see. They followed the boy past the bakery, past the church, past the market stalls, to the edge of town, a small cemetery, crooked headstones, dry grass, and a crowd already gathered. Emma pushed through, heart hammering. Cole's eyes locked on the ground, and his face drained. A grave had been dug open, fresh dirt thrown like violence, coffin lid cracked, empty. Emma covered her mouth. No. Someone whispered behind them. It's a sign. It's the devil. Hollis crouched by the grave, pretending to care. Then he reached into the mud, pulled something out. A ring, green jade, wet with earth, stained with dark red. Emma's breath left her. That's... Cole didn't move, didn't speak, but his eyes looked like a man watching a rope tighten. Hollis held the ring up for the crowd. "What do we have here?" He turned, and his gaze landed on Cole. "Cole Rivers," he said. "You got anything you want to tell us?" Emma stepped between them. "That ring is mine. It was my mother's." Hollis smiled. "Funny place to lose it." Emma's voice rose. "Someone planted it?" The crowd murmured, voices thickening, anger looking for a face. A woman spat, "City girl." A man muttered, "Foreign luck." Another voice, "Cole did it." Cole finally spoke, low, calm. "That ring wasn't in the dirt yesterday." Hollis stood, dusting off his hands. "Maybe your wife wasn't either." Emma trembled. Cole's hand found hers, steady, grounding. Hollis turned to the deputies. "Bring him in." Emma screamed. "No." Cole didn't resist, didn't run. He just looked at Emma, and in his eyes was a message. "Trust me." As the deputies grabbed him, Cole leaned close to Emma, voice barely audible. "Go to the barn, under the third plank. Get the ledger. Don't let Hollis see it." Emma blinked. Cole was dragged away. Boots scraping dirt. Crowd watching, like they'd been waiting for this show their whole lives. Emma stood in the cemetery, holding her breath, holding her fear, holding the knowledge that the town didn't want truth. It wanted a villain, and now it had one. But Cole Rivers, the quiet man they called weak, wasn't acting like a guilty man. He was acting like a man who'd seen this coming, and Emma realized the grave wasn't the only thing that was empty, because somewhere, someone had taken her bridehood and replaced it with war. They kept Cole in a cell that smelled like piss and old lies. Emma wasn't allowed to see him. Sheriff Hollis told her kindly, "Go home. Let the law handle it." Emma wanted to spit in his face, but she didn't, because she was learning something fast. In the West, anger without strategy was suicide. So she went home, not to surrender, to dig. Sunrise Ranch looked different in daylight, less romantic, more exposed, like the land itself could betray you. Emma went to the barn, heart pounding, found the third plank, pried it up, and reached into darkness. Her fingers touched paper, a ledger wrapped in oilcloth. She pulled it out, opened it, names, numbers, dates, and beside some names, a symbol, a small circle, drawn like a coin, no, like a badge. Emma flipped pages and found Sheriff Hollis's name again and again. Payments, land claims, auction dates, accidents. Her stomach turned. Cole wasn't just a ranch hand. Cole had been watching, counting, collecting. Then she found a page folded, hidden, a map, hand-drawn, with marks outside Willow Creek, and one mark circled hard, empty grave. Emma's blood ran cold. She heard hoofbeats and snapped the ledger shut. A deputy rode up, calling her name. Emma hid the ledger under her coat, smiled like she was harmless, like she was just a bride. The deputy said, "Sheriff wants you at the square." Emma swallowed. "For what?" The deputy shrugged. "He says, it's time. Emma rode into town and saw the gallows. Fresh wood, rope hanging like a tongue. Crowd gathered. Her legs went weak, but she stayed upright. Hollis stood on the platform, cigar in hand, face calm, like he was hosting a picnic. Cole was brought out. hands chained, shirt dusty, face bruised, but his eyes were still steady. Emma pushed through the crowd. Cole looked at her, and something in his gaze softened, then hardened again, like love was a luxury he couldn't afford right now. Hollis raised a hand. Folks, we got ourselves a tragedy, a bride taken, a grave dug, a husband with blood on his hands. Crowd roared. Emma screamed. He didn't do it. Hollis smiled. And you know that how? Emma's fingers tightened on the ledger under her coat. She could expose him right now. But she knew. A crowd doesn't accept truth. It accepts what it wants to believe. Hollis leaned toward Cole. Any last words? Quiet, man. Cole looked out over the crowd, over the faces that had judged him his whole life. Then he spoke, clear, calm, loud enough to cut the air. I didn't kill my wife, and I'm not weak. Murmurs. Cole continued. You want a villain? Look at the man holding the cigar. The crowd froze, then erupted. Hollis's smile twitched. Cole, watch your mouth. Cole didn't stop. Sheriff Hollis has been stealing land with paper and fire, and burying the bodies where nobody looks. Hollis's face darkened. He signaled. Deputies moved. Emma stepped forward, voice sharp. I have proof. The crowd quieted. Just a little. Hollis laughed. Proof? From a city girl? Emma pulled out the ledger, held it up. Hollis's eyes narrowed. Emma shouted, these are his payments, his land grabs. These are names of men who disappeared, and dates that match. A man in the crowd yelled, that's my brother's name. Another voice, that's my father. The crowd shifted, anger turning, not sure where to land. Hollis stepped forward, snatched the ledger. He tore it, pages ripping, paper flying like dead birds. And in that moment, Emma understood. He didn't fear her words. He feared the paper. Hollis grabbed Emma by the wrist. Hard! You're going to learn your place, he hissed. Cole roared, and the quiet man snapped. He lunged, chains clanking, hit a deputy with his shoulder, and in one motion, Cole drove his forehead into Hollis's face. A crack. Blood. The crowd screamed. Deputies grabbed Cole. Hollis stumbled back, cigar falling, boot grinding it into the dirt. Hollis wiped blood from his lip, eyes wild now, not in control. Hang him! He spat. Now! The rope was thrown over Cole's neck. Emma screamed. Cole looked at her, and his lips moved, silent. Run! Then the trapdoor creaked, and a gunshot exploded. The rope snapped. Cole dropped hard, coughing, alive. The crowd scattered. Chaos. Emma looked up. On the rooftop across the square, a figure lowered a rifle, hat brim low, face hidden. Then the figure turned and vanished into smoke. Emma's heart pounded. Who? Cole grabbed Emma's hand, and for the first time, he didn't whisper. He ordered, move, because the shot wasn't rescue. It was a warning. And somewhere, behind the town, a second grave was being dug. They ran, through alleys, past the church, past the bakery, past the town that had never loved Cole. Cole's breathing was heavy, not from exhaustion, from rage held too long. Emma stumbled. Cole caught her, pulled her forward. They reached the edge of town, horses tied behind a shed. Cole cut the ropes, swung onto his saddle, pulled Emma up behind him. Hold on! Emma wrapped her arms around him, and they rode, hard, away from Willow Creek, away from the gallows, away from Hollis's law, Wind tore at Emma's hair. Dust stung her eyes. Cole didn't slow until they hit open land, until the town became a stain behind them. Then he turned toward the hills, toward the mark on the map, toward the place labeled Empty Grave. Emma shouted over the wind. Cole, who shot the rope? Cole's jaw clenched. Not a friend. Emma blinked. Then, who? Cole's voice was bitter. A man who wants Hollis gone, for his own reasons. Emma's stomach tightened. So there's more? Cole didn't answer. He just rode. The land changed, rocks rising, canyons cutting the earth like scars. They reached a narrow valley where cottonwoods grew thin, and the air smelled like damp dirt. Cole dismounted, helped Emma down. He walked to a patch of ground near the creek, knelt, and began digging with his hands. Emma whispered, "Cole," Cole said. "This is where Hollis hides what he can't bury in town." Emma's throat went dry. "You mean bodies?" Cole didn't deny it. He dug deeper until his fingers hit wood. A lid, not a coffin, a crate. He pried it open. Inside, cloth, bones, a woman's ribbon, a broken comb, and a stack of papers wrapped tight. Emma's breath shook. Cole lifted the papers, and his eyes turned hard. Deeds, land titles, signed names, stolen signatures, stamps. "This," he said, "is why Hollis owns half this county." Emma stared. Then, "Why hasn't anyone stopped him?" Cole looked at her. "Because the ones who tried ended up here." Emma's knees weakened. Cole reached into the crate again and pulled out something small, wrapped in cloth. He unfolded it. A jade ring. Emma gasped. "My ring!" Cole's voice turned cold. No. He held it closer to the light. This ring wasn't hers. It was older, carved differently, and inside the band, tiny Chinese characters etched. Emma whispered, "What does it say?" Cole swallowed. "I don't read Chinese." Emma took it, hands trembling, and read the characters softly. "Return me home." Emma's blood ran cold. "Cole, this isn't about me." Cole nodded. "No, it's about all the women who disappeared, and the men who pretended not to notice." Emma stared at the ring, and suddenly the quiet man's story felt like a joke, because Cole wasn't quiet. He was restrained. Emma whispered, "Cole, who are you? Really?" Cole exhaled, like he'd been waiting for someone to ask him without judgment. "I used to track men," he said, "for money, for the law, for whoever paid." Emma's eyes widened. "Bounty hunter?" Cole nodded. "Then I realized the law was just another gang." Emma clutched the ring. "Then why stay here?" Cole looked toward the ridge, where the wind bent the grass. "Because Hollis killed someone I loved and buried her like trash. And I've been collecting proof, waiting for the right moment," Emma whispered. "So I'm—" Cole turned to her, eyes fierce. "You're not bait? You're the first good thing that ever happened to me." Emma's throat tightened. Then a twig snapped. Cole spun, gun up. A man stepped from the brush, hands raised, hat low, cigar, ember, glowing. Hollis's man. He smiled. Slow, cruel. "Sheriff sends his regards." Cole's voice was ice. "Where's Emma?" The man laughed. "You mean the bride. She ain't missing." Emma froze. "What?" The man tilted his head, like he was enjoying the pain. "She's alive. She's in Hollis's house. And if you want her breathing by sunrise—" He nodded at the crate. "You leave the papers, and you leave the ring." Emma's world tilted. Cole's jaw tightened, hands steady. He said softly, "You're lying." The man grinned. "Am I?" Then he tossed something onto the dirt. A veil, white lace, stained with mud, and a dark red smear. Emma screamed. Cole's eyes went dead calm. The calm of a man stepping into violence like it's weather, he whispered. They wanted a weak man. Then he looked up, and his voice turned into a vow. They're going to meet the real one. And the wind carried the smell of smoke, because Willow Creek was already burning. End